Christopher Nolan, a filmmaker who has changed the landscape of filmmaking, its boundaries of imagination and narrative in modern cinema. If you were to question actors globally about their most desired collaborators, the name Christopher Nolan would likely come up consistently.
Leader, problem solver, keep moving forward. He never goes backwards. He's a bit of a genius.
And while the extraordinary quality of his films is widely recognized, the distinctive qualities that set Nolan apart both on and off set remain an intriguing subject of exploration. He very much maintains his sense of mystery and intrigue around his personal life, allowing his cinematic work to take the center stage. So what is it that distinguishes Nolan as one of the most desirable collaborators worldwide? Christopher Nolan was born on July 30th, 1970, in London, England.
I never went to film school. I started making films using my dad's Super 8 camera.
Nolan's educational background in English literature and his fascination with storytelling have significantly shaped his filmmaking style. His interest in the works of authors like George Louis Borges and his exposure to classic films during his college years have contributed to the intricate narratives and philosophical themes that define his movies. His early interest in filmmaking led him to create several low-budget independent movies, including Following and Memento. Both films gain a lot of attention for their non-linear narratives and inventive storytelling techniques, but more on that later. Nolan often involves his family in his filmmaking endeavors. His wife, Emma Thomas, has been a producer on nearly all of his films since Following, showcasing their strong professional partnership. Additionally, his brother, Jonathan Nolan, has co-written several of his screenplays, including those for the Dark Knight Trilogy and Interstellar. Apart from family, Nolan tends to stick with the same group of people across all of his projects. For example, actor Michael Caine appears in 8 of the 12 movies Nolan has ever made. This goes for Cillian Murphy too, who has played numerous characters in Nolan's films up until recently when he got the lead role in Oppenheimer. So while these topics provide a little insight, much of his personal life remains outside of the public eye. However, Nolan's films have sometimes been criticized for underdeveloped female characters or for primarily using women in supporting or auxiliary roles. Nevertheless, Nolan himself has acknowledged the importance of representation and has expressed a willingness to improve this aspect in his future projects. Following was released in 1998 and marked Christopher Nolan's debut as a director. He conceived the idea for the film while he was still a student and financed the film with his own money. With a budget of around $6,000 and a small crew, they worked only on weekends while crew members had to work during the week. He edited the film himself, and the story features a complex, non-linear narrative. After completing the film, he entered it into film festivals, which is where it gained attention and praise. The film's DIY production approach, coupled with its inventive storytelling, demonstrated Nolan's talent and paved the way for his subsequent successes in the world of cinema. Fast forward to today, that non-linear narrative has become a signature element of his storytelling style. Nolan is also known for his dedication to shooting on film and using practical effects whenever possible. He believes in immersing the audience in the world he creates, favoring practical sets and effects over extensive CGI. And this commitment to authenticity has contributed to the visceral and tactile nature of his films. A good example of this is evident in the use of real planes, ships, and practical effects during the filming of Dunkirk. The film also had over 6,000 extras. All of these combined efforts added a sense of realism and urgency to the war epic. In just this one scene, a Spitfire plane and 1,500 extras were used, but it doesn't stop there. For one of his most recent practical tricks, he built an entire town from scratch. As Nolan and the production designer on Oppenheimer, Ruth de Jong, were scouting for locations to recreate the birthplace of the atomic bomb, they found a place called Ghost Ranch, 21,000 acres of nothing but land. Fast forward a few months and there it was, the entirety of Los Alamos. And believe it or not, but Nolan has also become a prominent figure in the farming business.
So you find yourself sometimes standing by a totally fake, beautiful farmhouse in the middle of a completely fake, massive cornfield in the middle of a totally fake dust storm. And that's when you know you're on a Chris Nolan movie.
Speaking on the subject of immersion, the use of practical effects isn't the only thing Nolan uses to immerse the viewer. He also began using IMAX technology for the first time back in 2008, and it marked a pivotal moment in Nolan's filmmaking career. The Dark Knight opens with the Joker's crew robbing a bank. The scene opens with a shot of Gotham City Bank in the early morning hours. A school bus pulls up, and a group of clown-masked bank robbers exit the bus and start their heist. As the heist progresses, the audience quickly becomes aware that the robbers are not working together, revealing a plan orchestrated by the Joker. And by the end of the scene, when the Joker reveals himself, it gives you an unsettling feeling seeing the details behind the mask. And this entire sequence was shot on IMAX, which in addition to completely immersing the viewer in the city of Gotham, makes the Joker look quite quite literally a larger-than-life icon as he gets introduced in the scene. Thanks to his experienced director of photography, Hoyte van Hoytema, IMAX became a great format for intimacy and spectacle. Hoyte began working with Nolan on Interstellar, and the IMAX duo has continued to partner up on every movie that followed, including Oppenheimer, Nolan's latest film. Beyond amazing visual effects, practical sets, and IMAX cameras, it appears that Nolan also has a handful of favorite people in mind for scoring his films. With 2 Oscars and 4 Emmys, one of the most recognizable composers of our time is undoubtedly Hans Zimmer. He has made countless memorable soundtracks for movies, TV shows, and even video games. Zimmer and Nolan began working together on Batman Begins, which led to an unforgettable partnership spanning across a decade, with scores that have only elevated Nolan's films even more. To create the score for Interstellar, the duo engaged in extensive discussions about the film's themes and characters.
If he were to write 1 page of something, and he wouldn't tell me what the movie was about, but he'd just write 1 page, would I give him 1 day, and just whatever came to my mind, I would start writing.
Nolan provided Zimmer with a great deal of creative freedom, allowing him to explore unconventional musical approaches and experiment with sound. Zimmer, in turn, embraced the opportunity to craft a score that would be distinctive and immersive. And all of that is how Interstellar's Day One was created. It's a testament to both Nolan's way of working and Zimmer's incredible talent. For his most recent projects, Tenet and Oppenheimer, Nolan partnered up with Ludwig Göransson for the score.
As soon as I read the script, I'm putting the pieces together in my mind. And then by the end, after 6 hours, he was like, hey, do you want to come back tomorrow and read the script for a new project? And that was Tenet.
Ludwig has been praised a lot for his work on The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Black Panther, and many more. But with the praise for Oppenheimer's score, who knows where this creative partnership will go next? But for now, we can clearly hear that each score Nolan ends up using for his films all have their own unique identity and perfectly fit the theme. Speaking about themes, one that Nolan often tends to use is identity. This is evident in films like The Dark Knight, where Batman's dual identity reflects the internal struggles of Bruce Wayne, who besides being the Batman, also has a personal life and happens to have a love interest. But in his particular line of work, that can easily become a dangerous factor, thus putting him in the middle of an identity crisis where he's either doing what's right for Gotham or doing what's right for Bruce. Nolan's latest movie, Oppenheimer, dives deep into the personal life of Robert J. Oppenheimer and masterfully shows how he embraced taking the lead on the atomic bomb project, only to be haunted by the devastation it unleashed upon the world for the rest of his life. But aside from personal themes, there is one in particular that spans across almost every film Nolan has ever made.
I mean, one of the fascinating things I was explaining to my kids the other day, that you look at your idea of a telescope. Telescope is a way of looking back in time.
It's a time machine.
Not just space,
Yeah.
it's a time machine.
A theme that's so subjective you could probably make a movie or two revolving around it, and that's exactly what Nolan did and will likely continue to keep doing. In Dunkirk, the story is told through 3 perspectives, all at a different point in time, leading up to the same conclusion. In Inception, time moves significantly slower in dream state than in reality, and in Interstellar, the characters experience massive amounts of time dilation, highlighting the fascinating concept of time slowing down under the influence of a strong gravitational field. And with this track record, it's probably only a matter of time before Nolan finds a way to actually bend time and space. All in all, we think it's safe to say that Christopher Nolan is a one-of-a-kind director that likes to surround himself with the best team he can, and it shows in every film he puts out. From forming lifelong creative partnerships to pushing the boundaries of IMAX technology, Nolan's ways of working captivate audiences over and over again with every project he puts out. And while he doesn't share much about his personal life, you can't help but feel like you get to know him a little bit when watching his films.